Hey everyone, this is Matt from endsickness.org. Today I'm going to talk about how cravings are the gateway to chronic illness symptoms. First, let me say I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. It's based on my experience and all the cravings I went through. This is for informational and educational purposes only, okay? So cravings, how would cravings be the gateway to chronic illness symptoms? Well, cravings are typically driven by your immune system. What people don't realize is when you crave something, often it's because you have a low-grade sensitivity to it. Okay, so if you keep consuming something that you crave, what's happening is that every time you consume it, you're developing more and more of an immune response to it. It's kind of like, for example, craving sugars or craving alcohol or whatever it is. As you consume more of it, your immune system becomes a little bit less tolerant to it, and then you keep fixating on it more and more as you become less tolerant to it. This is the cycle of craving. This is what I went through all my life, whether it was with foods, whether it was substances, with medications, with antidepressants, whatever it was, right? It was something that provided me pleasure, that in that moment, that pleasure distracted me from the emotional conflict internally and from the symptoms, that I was experiencing in my mind, in my life, etc. And the craving was really an escape. This thing that was providing me this relief was an escape. So I started to crave these things. In addition, there were certain things about these foods or these substances, whatever it was, that would aggravate my immune system, like I said. And when it aggravated my immune system, then you would have the adrenaline response from the aggravation, from the triggering of the immune system, coupled with the dopamine response from the actual food itself. Together, you led to this over-exaggerated response. It's what they see in studies, is that people who have sensitivities to foods, to different things, substances even, that they'll have an exaggerated dopamine response, okay? And when they have the exaggerated dopamine response, then they get a much bigger rush off of consuming this thing, and then a much bigger dip when they stop consuming this thing. So they have much greater ups and much greater downs. It leads them into a place where they start to fantasize over the food, consuming these things, etc. But the reality is these cravings, when you give in to them, they cause inflammation, and it could be cravings to even things like, meat, even things like eggs, dairy, nuts, seeds, processed foods, spices, herbs, things like that. But the reality is cravings always, always, always indicate there is an immune issue. You don't crave broccoli in the same way that you crave, a burger. You don't crave cauliflower in the same way that you crave alcohol if you're an alcoholic, It just doesn't work that way. There's not enough opportunity for your body to become reactive to this food like it is alcohol or burgers or wheat or things like that. And also there's not enough of a dopamine response you're going to get from these foods to combine that adrenaline response with that dopamine response to make that over-exaggerated response that leads to the craving. So trust me, if you got to realize there were emotions in your past, okay, that were unaddressed, that led you to consume things that over time caused a chronic illness. If you were eating the perfect diet all your life, not one time that you ate crappy food, would you be sick right now? I don't know, right? Those emotions that you were unaddressed, they led you to crave things, to be able to escape those emotions. And the cravings were the foods and things that were unhealthy, that distracted you, that fogged you, that made you unable to continue to pay attention to what you're paying attention to, which was that troubling emotion. So realize there's been cravings that have been involved all your life. And by giving into them to distract yourself, eventually these things compounded and turned into a chronic illness. And unless you address the cravings, unless you address these things that are keeping you in that loop, and release yourself from the cravings and focus on doing the things that you know are good for you, like eating your fruits, vegetables, rice, beans, potatoes, things like that. This is the way to be able to get out of your chronic illness. You have to escape the cravings. Stop eating the things you crave. Get out of the relationship with the person that you crave that you can't deal without. Stop exercising in excess because you're craving that. Just all the things that you're craving, get rid of them. Just get rid of them. This has been my experience. What you're left with is actually a lot more joy in your life, a lot more happiness, because when you remove the things you crave, then you focus on all the things around you that bring you joy, and it's just so much more fulfilling in the end. So thanks for watching, everybody. Go to my website, endsickness.org. I got hundreds of articles and videos on there teaching you how to heal yourself out here in nature. Thanks for watching.